Hi, I'm Gini Larsen, and I'm your Women's Director here at ROCKPOINT. This weekend I went to see the movie Harriet, which is the autobiographical story of the great abolitionist Harriet Tubman. In the movie, Harriet Tubman lives in Maryland and she crosses over 100 miles of difficult terrain and across the Niagara River into the state of Pennsylvania, where she becomes a free woman. She's no longer a slave. Later, she goes back and rescues hundreds of other slaves, brings them into Pennsylvania, and becomes one of the greatest abolitionists this country has ever seen. She was part of the Underground Railroad. The passage that we're looking at today in the book of Joshua, Joshua chapter 3, is a very similar story. Joshua is leading his people who've been wandering in the wilderness for 40 years across the Jordan River and into the Promised Land. But there's this moment in the movie and in this passage as well where the leader stands at the bank of the river, takes a step forward into the raging water, and then stops and looks back and waits. In the Harriet Tubman movie, she waits until she receives peace. She prays to God and asks for his help, and then he shows her the way to cross the river. In the passage we're looking at today in Joshua 3, Joshua steps into the raging water and God stops the raging water, as we find here in verse 13. Here's what it has to say. It says, "When the soles of the feet of the priests bearing the ark of the Lord of all the earth, shall rest in the waters of the waters of the Jordan shall be cut off from flowing, and the waters coming down from above shall stand in one heap." God literally stops the raging water so the people of Israel can cross into the Promised Land. I think that's the message God has for all of us today. Take that step, move forward, and then stand still and wait, and I will show you the way. If you're worried about taking that step, God says act in faith. If you've already taken that step, it's good to wait. You don't need to rush into the water. You don't need to jump in head first. You can wait, and then he will give you what you need to finish the journey. I love this passage, and I love the book of Joshua. Take a few moments, if you can today, to take a look at this passage, Joshua chapter 3, verse 13. And if you get a chance, you might want to check that movie out too. It was very inspirational and something that made me want to take more steps of courageous victory in the Lord. Thanks again, and have a great week.